Hello, everyone. Matt Clark, research analyst for Money and Markets, here with your weekly marijuana market update. Hope you all had a great holiday weekend. I had the opportunity to travel to Atlanta, Georgia, visit my grandfather and my sister. Great visit. Probably could have done a little bit without the cooler weather, but that's okay. My South Florida heat kept me warm, I guess. But now I'm back, ready to roll up my sleeves, get back into it, and close out this 2020 with your marijuana market updates. For today's update, I want to talk about a new trend in IPOs and kind of how it's now relating to cannabis. Some of you through YouTube and on email have asked me about Subversive Capital Acquisition Corporation. It's a company that trades over the counter. The ticker symbol is SBVCF. This company has an interesting story that's really progressed over the last few months rather. Subversive Capital is what's known as a SPAC, or a special purpose acquisition company. SPACs are companies that are formed with the purpose of merging or acquiring other companies. Basically, if you own a private company, you can merge with one of these SPACs and immediately become public without filing the paperwork, getting underwriters, and going through the tasks of filing an IPO. It's commonly referred to as a reverse acquisition. And the popularity of SPACs is actually growing. Consider this. In 2015, only 20 SPACs went public. That number grew to 59 in 2019. Now, in the first 9 months of 2020, the number of SPACs created already surpassed the total in 2019, and there's actually more on the way. Now, the founders of a SPAC will typically have one or two companies that they're targeting for an acquisition, but they won't tell anyone what those companies are when they form the SPAC. They want to kind of keep that quiet. The drawback here is that when you invest in a SPAC, and you can do so by like any other stock, you can buy it on the market, you can do it very traditionally. But you really have no idea what you're investing in terms of the end game. You're investing in the SPAC, but you really don't have any idea where they're going to use that capital. When the SPAC goes public, the funds raised in the IPO are typically put into some kind of an escrow account. They give themselves around 2 years to complete a targeted acquisition, or they'll give the funds back to SPAC investors. Any interest earned on the money in the escrow account can be used towards working capital for the SPAC as far as administrative duties and things like that. It creates a good benefit for investors as it really limits risk. You basically grow your money back, you get your money back rather, if the funds you've invested aren't used and the SPAC is eventually liquidated. The difference with Subversive Capital Acquisition is that investors know pretty much exactly what the SPAC is looking at in terms of the broader market. They're looking at cannabis. Just last week, rap mogul Jay-Z, whose real name is Sean Carter, joined Subversive as its chief visionary officer. Now, I really don't know a whole lot of what that means. I think it's just kind of a clever title to bring on a very well-known name. But there was more to it than that. Subversive joined with California cannabis company Caliva and hemp manufacturer Left Coast Ventures, along with Carter's entertainment company Rock Nation, to form the largest cannabis SPAC in history. The SPAC has already received $36.5 million on a price point of $10 per share. Subversive will acquire both Caliva and Left Coast for about $500 million combined, and create a company known as right now just the parent company. They really don't have a name for it. The deals are expected to be completed in January of 2021. Now, Subversive's primary goal here is to consolidate the California cannabis market by investing in things like minority-owned cannabis companies, as well as companies with large-scale cultivation, and those companies have a history of strong distribution in the state. Now, because of its current state of fragmentation, the California market doesn't really have a company that's heads and tails above the rest. As you can see here, there are about 1,200 distributors and more than 1,000 consumer brands of cannabis on the market in California. It's a big market. On top of that, there's more than 6,000 cultivators and nearly 900 manufacturers of cannabis. So as you can see, the market is spread out pretty wide. In other states, you see cannabis, kind of constrained to 5, 6, 7, 8 producers, and that's really about it. But California is huge. Now, to me, that means a company like Subversive can go in and consolidate, gain market share, and have the potential to dominate the California cannabis market. And that market is only expected to grow in the next 5 years. If you look at revenue from cannabis sales in California, it's expected to jump from about $3.6 billion this year in 2020 to $7.4 billion in 2025. That's a 105.5% increase in just 5 years. That's a huge jump. Now, as for Subversive as a stock, the company has seen some modest gains in the last 2 months since it was launched. Now, to date, the SPAC has gained about 2.8%, give or take, and that gain has been pretty steady since the end of November. Now, I like the big name addition of Jay-Z to bolster credibility. I also like the mission of the SPAC to consolidate the California cannabis market. But I think it's a tough nut to crack. Besides battling with so many players in the market, California has another problem, and that's illicit cannabis sales. According to BDS Analytics, the state racked up $8.7 billion in illicit cannabis spending in 2019. That's more than double the amount spent on legal cannabis, which is kind of strange when you consider that there are so many players out there and cannabis is actually legal. The illicit market can sell it cheaper. Now, by 2024, those figures on illicit spending are expected to flip-flop a little bit, where cannabis sales will actually outpace illegal sales, but the number is still pretty high. Overall, however, I do like Subversive's plan, and I like having Jay-Z and his impressive marketing capability. I think it'll add substance to the company. And on top of that, if you look at Rock Nation, you're talking about an agency and an entity that has more than 150 artists, ranging from rap to other singers and things like that, and 125 or more athletes. And they will have that at their disposal. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's aggressive. And if it's successful, it could position Subversive to take a large market share in the world's biggest cannabis market. And because it's a SPAC, your losses are virtually non-existent. If the SPAC doesn't complete the merger, you basically get your money back. You put in $100 and they don't merge with anyone, they liquidate, you get your $100 back. It's really kind of a no-risk proposition. So the bottom line here is that if this is an investment opportunity that really appeals to you, and I think it should, then I really don't find a lot of downside to doing it. Now, I'd like to kind of give you an update on our cannabis watch list. The watch list of late has really been on fire. One stock that did kind of concern me was Scott's Miracle-Gro Company. It's been in negative territory since I added it to the list back in September, but it's really rallied over the last week or two, and now it's up 3.3% since September 1st. That's not bad considering how it was down as much as 10% back in October. I did want to mention our watch list performance has been pretty strong to date. Looking at our specific watch list members, Turning Point Brands is the most recent addition to the list. I added it to the watch list in the middle of October. It's a traditional tobacco company that's started making products for the cannabis industry, and so far it's really outperformed the rest of the cannabis industry and produced gains of about 31% to date since I put it on the list. Schwarzer Mounted International is another tobacco company that's kind of developed products for cannabis use. SWM is a strong performer since I put it on the list in September. The company's share price has jumped more than 16%. Perkin-Elmer Incorporated tests various strains of cannabis for consumption. I put it on the watch list in September. Its shares are now up more than 11%. The most recent addition that I have to the watch list is Grow Generation Corporation. It's a Denver, Colorado-based company that supplies and services the cannabis industry. It does like nutrients, farming equipment, things like that. Again, it is the most recent addition to the list. I added it back on November 17th. Since then, it certainly has not disappointed. It's climbed nearly 27% since we added it in that short a time. If you take all the gains into consideration, the overall watch list is up more than almost 18% as of right now. And those gains blast past the broader market. If you look at the iShares Core S&P 500 ETF, which is on the New York Stock Exchange under IVV, it's up only 3% since I put those first three cannabis stocks on our watch list back in September. So you've got a gain of 18% with the watch list. You look at the broader market, you look at 3%. That is a massive, massive difference. So if you invested in those companies when I made recommendations, when I put them on the watch list, congratulations on your gains. I think there's still more to come. Now, before I go, I do want to tell you about Chief Investment Strategist Adam O'Dell's masterclass. It came out a couple weeks ago, and so far it has really been popular amongst people who maybe are not sure about investing. It's a strategy that Adam used to actually retire at the age of 33, which is impressive. I'm not 33. I'm older than that, and I'm nowhere near retiring. And if I'd have known these secrets beforehand, I'd have been a lot better off in terms of my portfolio and my retirement position. Now, if you just go to the website www.theinvestingsecret.com, you'll find out about this fantastic trading strategy. It's one I use to give insight on a lot of cannabis stocks in the market, and I look at it very frequently to see kind of what cannabis stocks are doing and what ones are solid recommendations for the watch list or ones that I talk about in these videos. That's about all for me this week. Remember, if you do have any comments or questions or stocks you'd like me to take a look at, just email me at feedback@moneyandmarkets.com. If you're interested in listening to the Marijuana Market Update before anyone else, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, which you're already there. Make sure you are subscribed. When you hit subscribe, you're going to get a little bell that pops up. Click that, and you'll get notified each and every time we put out a video at the time we put it out. So that's a great way to kind of get advanced information before we put it out on moneyandmarkets.com. Same goes for our Bull and the Bear podcast, as well as our week ahead. Now, the other thing I want to remind you is make sure you go to moneyandmarkets.com and sign up for our free daily e-letter. It's free. We give you about 2 or 3 stories a day, Monday through Sunday. We don't try to spam your email or anything like that, but we want to try to provide you with the safest and most sound investment information so that you can help bolster your portfolio. Adam O'Dell writes for it. I do as well. Charles Sizemore, my partner in crime with the Bull and the Bear podcast, he's on there. Michael Carr does a chart of the day. We have a lot of great information on there. So make sure you go and sign up for that. Just go to moneyandmarkets.com. Just drop in your email and you'll start getting our daily e-letter. It's something you don't want to miss. So with that, I'm Matt Clark, a research analyst for Money and Markets, host of the Bull and the Bear podcast. And until next time, everyone, safe trading.